1, go.
Hey. Woo.
I came to praise, and love the Lord. My hands I raise. I'm singing all my favorite tunes.
Like the Brady Bunch section. Hey.
You remember the Brady Bunch?
Yeah.
Give him way too much. He said the Brady Bunch. We go up and up and up. Yeah, yeah. Hey. 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 What's up? We are back. Thank you guys for tuning in to F3C's Kidzone, the experience. Of course, I am Reverend K-N-E, and this is
Be ready.
in the place to be, y'all. Guess what? We are back live now. Before we would have a mask on, but you guys been coming on Sundays. Y'all been doing a great job. So I don't really feel like I need to keep talking about wearing your mask because safety guidelines. You guys are already doing it. We love to see you guys in the place. Thank you for coming. Keep coming because when you come, your parents come. We did a little special ministering piece this morning. I hope you guys enjoyed it because eventually I would like to see some of you get your dance on as well. Whatever you do, I want to be able to see you guys do it.
They loved it.
Did they love it?
They were super excited.
They were super excited. That means that y'all are ready to do some stuff. And guess what? We got some stuff coming up for you guys in the pipeline. But before we do that, we are still in the month of November talking about what?
Contentment.
That's right. We're talking about contentment. She had me scared for a minute there. And our scripture is what?
Luke 12:15.
That's right, Luke 12:15. Y'all see, I got my phone out because I said this is a new scripture. We never used this scripture before, but we did talk about contentment before.
Yes.
But we got a great lesson for you guys. But check this out. This is what it says. Luke 12:15. It says, and then he said to them, take care and be on your guard against all covetousness, for one's life does not consist in abundance of possessions. Which means contentment. Be glad with what you got. I'm going to turn that off right there. That's all it really means. So just like, be glad with what you got. Because there are a lot of folks out there that don't have what you have. But now it's time for, I heard that she did really well last week on the joke. Y'all came to me talking about, she did good on the joke, so she got another one. I'm going to let her have it. As a matter of fact, I'm going to shift it over to her since y'all say I'm corny. Go ahead.
I got a good one.
You got a good one?
Yes.
Let's tell it right. I'm ready.
What?
Uh-huh.
No. How does Hamburger introduce his girlfriend?
How does Hamburger introduce his girlfriend? She already laughing. How does Hamburger introduce his girlfriend? I don't know how.
Meet Patty.
Now that one was good. Now that okay. That one was good. Now that one was truly good. That was good. I love that one. I love that one. Oh man, she got me. She got me on that one. That one was really good. That should have been something I should have came up with, but she got it. She got it. That was good. Okay, so now we talked about our word of the month, and I hope that you guys are using these words because if you notice, our pattern is we've really been talking about 5 words, but we've been using different stories and stuff with these 5 words so you guys can get it, and then eventually we'll move on to some other words. But right now, we're still talking about the 5 words. So, like I told you before, we've already talked about
contentment
before. Okay, but we use a different scripture, but it's still lined up with the word. And we just want to show you that there are scriptures out there with these words that we're talking about that lines up with the words that we're talking about, okay? So, with that being said, we got a great lesson coming up for you guys. But before we get into our lesson, y'all know the best word. Well, I ain't even going to mess it up. But before we get into our lesson,
the best part of Kidzone is praise and worship.
That's right. Praise and worship. After praise and worship, Ding, 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 ding. Ding, ding. After praise and worship, we will be right back.
Get up and do praise and worship.
Our eyes have seen your glory and all that you have done, and we believe the story that you are God's own Son. You stepped down from the heavens into this world you made, a sacrifice for sinners. There is no higher name above all names. Your name is life. Your name is power. You are our hope in every hour. Your name is life. You break the darkness, and we will tell the world that your name is Jesus. And we will tell the world your name is Jesus. Your name is Jesus. New life for all creation, the reason that we sing, the hope for every nation. You are the reigning King above all kings. Your name is life. Your name is power. You are our hope in every hour. Your name is light. You break the darkness, and we will tell the world your name is Jesus. And we will tell the world your name is Jesus. Your name is Jesus. We will tell the world, we will tell the world, we will tell the world that your name is Jesus. And we will tell the world, we will tell the world, we will tell the world that your name is life. Your name is power. You are our hope in every hour. Your name is light. You break the darkness, They can't harm us, got my arms up, but we covered in that armor, and we done made it. Y'all ain't hear me, but we made it. I ain't earned it, but I take it. Got that light inside of me that you don't need no eyes to see, and you can feel it, you can hear it when I say, hey, hey. Yeah, yeah. This is unfailing love. Yeah, yeah. That you would take my place. Oh, yeah. Take my place, take my place. That you would bear my cross. Bear my cross, bear my cross. You laid down your life. You laid down. That I would be set free. Set free, set free, set free. Whoa, Jesus, I sing for all that you've done for me.
Check, go.
Woo! All right. We are back. Man, I'm tired. Woo! That was some good praise and worship. Yeah, it was good praise and worship right there. But like I said, we were talking about
Contentment.
And our scripture is
Luke 12,
12
and 15.
Luke 12 and 15. And guess what? It says this. And he said to them, take care and be on your guard against all covetousness, which means wanting something that someone else has. And it says, for one's life, or your life, my life, does not consist in the abundance of possessions, which means that we're not to worry about what we have and what other folks have. We should be happy with what we got. All right. So we are talking about the word contentment. Now, y'all do know that we talked about the story of Moses leading the children of Israel away from Egypt, from King Pharaoh, right? So now we're going to touch on something within that story that we didn't touch on before. So, like I told you, the children of Israel, they were always complaining. But time after time after time, God has always kept them. Remember when Pharaoh was chasing them, they was complaining, Moses, man, you brought us out here. We might as well have stayed in Egypt. I mean, you brought us out here to die. Why you bring us out here? He parted the Red Sea so they could get away, and then he drowned all of Pharaoh and his men. Pharaoh's men, he drowned them. He made a way the whole time. Remember Aaron, they did all of that stuff with Aaron. They went up there and all of that good stuff. God has been keeping them all this time. Well, what we didn't talk about was during this whole process, they were walking and everything, still complaining, but they wasn't looking at what God had already done for them and everything. They were just worried about the things that they had when they was in slavery. So they was like, okay, that's like, you know what? You got us out here, but when we was in slavery, we had meat. We was able to eat. They fed us every time. Then we had stuff to drink. We might as well have stayed there. They taking care of us better than you taking care of us. So Moses, he says, you know what? He says, God is a keeper of his word. He says, he did not bring us out here so we could die. So, right then and there, while he's talking to them, God, he drops manna from heaven. Manna means like meat. Okay, and it was like a bird quail. It just came falling down so they can have food, they can have meat, okay? So even in the midst of having that meat, in their mindset, God tells them this. He says, don't try to pack up anything, don't take anything. Let today take care of today, let tomorrow take care of tomorrow. But what did they do? They wanted to try to store meat, but guess what? Yeah, they did. But guess what? They couldn't store it. It all rotted because God said, I'm going to take care of you. He's already showing them that he's taking care of them. So now, after they're eating the meat, they're still complaining about eating this good meat. They're like, okay, well, man shall not live by meat alone, but it's really bread alone. But man shall not live by meat alone, it's good. So God said, oh, okay. He said, now they're still complaining about this, but you know what? I'm going to show them that I'm with them.
Okay.
And what I'm going to do is I am going to allow the dew to settle on the ground. It's going to frost up. It's going to become sweet. And then it's going to turn into what they know as bread. So he literally had the bread come down. And now they have bread and they have meat. So they are really eating. Yes. Instead of them recognizing that God is doing all of this, they're still complaining.
Now, can you imagine if meat is falling? A movie cloudy with a chance of meat falling? book?
Mm-hmm. I love that movie. I love that movie.
I can imagine.
I remember seeing it in 3D. So
Right.
my daughter was a little girl. So because all this stuff was coming at her, so we had the glasses on, and I see her doing this because she didn't want to see the stuff through the glasses. But she don't mind me telling this story. But that was her first 3D movie, and she was like, oh, she was preaching. Then she put her glasses like this and was watching. I was like, Kenny, you got to keep the glasses on for the effect. She was like, I don't like it. But I remember that movie. But back to our lesson. Back to our lesson. So now they're still complaining.
Wow.
He's giving them meat. They've got bread, all of this stuff. Now they are complaining because they are thirsty. Now, there's nothing around. They're just like, okay, we got to wash this stuff down because this meat is thick and this bread is in my throat. It's like, we got to wash this stuff down. So God allows Aaron to go over to this rock. And he allowed water to come from the rock.
A rock.
A rock, of all things. Water from a stone was just pouring out. So now he gives them water. So now they got the meat, they got the bread, and they got water. The moral of the story is this: when God says He's going to do something, you can depend on Him to do it 110%. If God puts you in a situation, He already has it, and He already has the ends to the means. There's nothing that they should have ever worried about.
Right.
But because of their complaining, they were in the wilderness for over 400 years, just walking around in the wilderness. And I can imagine just because of their disobedience. But they were really wanting to go back into slavery because they thought that it was better for them there. But God was showing them, I got you. He had that power to do all of that, and they still weren't happy. Because it says that they walked around in the wilderness for over 400 years.
Wow.
They complained so much, God got silent. God got silent with the people because He was like, okay, I don't know what else to do to these people. They're not listening to me.
Wow.
Until Isaiah prophesies that Jesus comes to redeem us all.
Wow.
What you got?
So a lot of times, like, when it comes to kids, you know how we always say you just gotta wait and you gotta wait on God and you gotta wait and God's gonna do this, He's gonna do that. But for kids, waiting like 1 minute is like waiting like 400 years.
Right.
Right? So in their mindset, it's like, as much as you guys might see that you're starving, you need bread, you need water, we need meat, we need things, but you have people in your life that help take care of those things. You have people in your life that provide for you, that give you those things and that help you, because there are a lot of people who can't even do that, can't even do that. So it's sometimes it's just being content with what you have, and just knowing that there's always going to be a plan, there's always going to be a will, there's always a way. But a lot of times as kids and as adults, we tend to try to do things on our own. And we tend to try to make our own way, and we tend to try to, well, let me go to McDonald's because you're taking too long to cook, or let me, like we try to come up with a different plan when you could have just had a feast. And so it's sometimes it's that waiting is what is most important, because like you just said, God turned his back because He just got tired of hearing the complaining. And I don't want God to turn his back on me, and I know you wouldn't want God to turn his back on you. So for me, the moral of this story just tells me that no matter how hard you think it is, and no matter how frustrating you are getting, and no matter how you may not understand why this is taking forever, why can't we do this, why can't I have that, why can't I go here, why does this person do this, you just got to feel content. And sometimes even if you don't understand it, just know that it may not be what's for you right now, because sometimes God prevents things from happening to save you and help you, because you don't know what could have happened.
That's true.
So it's just being content with what we have, and being content with who you are and where you are, because you never know what's behind that other door.
Correctamundo. That was happy days. Absolutely right. But she's right, because this is the thing. So like she mentioned, she gave a good a reference talking about you're not waiting. Your parents are cooking, you waiting on dinner, and you're hungry, and you just act like you can't wait. You go to McDonald's. Then you go to McDonald's and you get something that you really want, and it turns out not to be that great. And you're like, man, I could have just waited and stayed home. And it always happens that way. So when we talk about the word contentment, you got to make sure, always understand that there are folks out there, and that next week's lesson is going to be a lesson where we're really going to show you and hopefully change your mindset to understand. There are people out there that doesn't have half the things that you have, and we continue to always want more. And we live in a society where it's microwave popcorn, you know, we got 10-minute oil changes, all of these things. Everything is so speedy. Yeah, and we take it for granted. But understand, there's somebody out there that's not as fortunate as you. That's why we practice contentment. Okay.
Think about when we had that snowstorm.
Oh,
people
man,
didn't have lights, water, couldn't get anywhere, and going without that for like a couple hours, you can't get on the internet, you can't charge your phone. Like imagine having to be content with that being your life. So some people, we don't realize
that's
how
a good
privileged and
reference.
blessed we are.
That's a good reference, and it just showed me when she's talking about that, and what it showed me through that whole process is that we absolutely have no control over nothing.
Exactly.
Because if they can cut off our lights and stuff like that, it lets you know you have absolutely no control of anything. So you might as well be content. Because we were sitting there planning like, okay, when the lights come on, we're going to get up, we're going to go do this, we're going to go do this, we're going to go do that. And then before the lights go off, I mean, it was literally like, I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. But then I said, you know what? It's showing me that we really don't have any control over anything.
Exactly.
That is a great example.
Yes.
I like that.
Yes.
Okay. You good?
I'm Gucci.
All right. I'm Gucci too. But guess what? I hear some music in the air. There it is. I think that's wrong. All right, y'all. This has been another edition of FTC's Kidzone, the Experience. Yeah. We thank you. We love you. And guess what? We will see you when?
Next week.
Next week.
In Kidzone.
And in Kidzone. Hope to see you guys. Goodbye.
Bye, guys.